Rome, the greatest empire on earth. An empire built by warriors, ruled by emperors, feared by kings. But in the year 67 AD, something happened that shocked even Rome itself. The Emperor of Rome stood before thousands of citizens, dressed in royal robes, smiling proudly beside his new bride. But the shocking thing was that the bride was actually a boy, and the man standing beside him was the most dangerous ruler Rome had ever seen. His name was Nero. Before he became a monster, Nero was Rome's golden child. He was young, handsome, charismatic. When Nero became emperor at just 16 years old, the people celebrated wildly. Rome believed a new golden age had begun. At first, Nero seemed different from other rulers. He loved music, poetry, theater, and art more than war. He performed on stage like an actor and sang before crowds. But Rome had one strict rule. An emperor was supposed to be powerful, cold, untouchable, not an entertainer. Still, the people tolerated him because the empire was peaceful for a while. Then came the night that changed everything. July 64 AD. A massive fire exploded through the streets of Rome. Flames swallowed homes. Temples collapsed. Families screamed as entire neighborhoods disappeared into smoke. For 6 terrifying days, the city burned. Thousands died. And soon, whispers spread through Rome. Did Nero start the fire himself? Some claimed the emperor stood watching the flames from a palace tower, singing as the city burned beneath him. No one knew the truth, but the rumors poisoned Rome forever. Nero blamed a strange new religious group called the Christians, and what happened next became one of the darkest chapters in Roman history. Christians were arrested, tortured, executed publicly. Some were burned alive at night to light Nero's gardens like human torches. Fear consumed the empire, and Nero became more unstable than ever. Then, Nero met someone who would scandalize Rome beyond imagination. A young boy named Sporus. But the surprising thing is why the emperor married a boy. Historians say Sporus looked remarkably similar to Nero's dead wife. Obsessed and emotionally broken, Nero ordered the boy. Then he did something almost unbelievable. He married him. In public. Sporus was dressed as an empress of Rome. He wore expensive gowns, jewels, and veils, while Nero treated him like his royal wife. The people of Rome were stunned. Even for the Romans, famous for excess and decadence, this crossed every line. The emperor of the world had turned the Roman palace into something unrecognizable, but no one dared challenge him, because opposing Nero often meant death. Blood inside the palace. By now, paranoia controlled Nero completely. He no longer trusted senators. He no longer trusted generals. Eventually, he didn't even trust his own mother. His mother, Agrippina the Younger, had helped place Nero on the throne. She controlled politics from the shadows and expected power in return. But Nero wanted freedom from her influence, so he planned her murder. According to Roman historians, Nero first tried to kill her using a collapsing boat designed to sink at sea. But Agrippina survived. When Nero heard the news, panic swept through the palace, so he sent assassins directly to her villa. Before her death, legend says Agrippina gave one final command to the killers. "Strike my womb," the womb that had given birth to Nero. After killing his own mother, Nero's image never recovered. The Senate hated him. The army lost respect for him. The people feared him. Taxes rose. Executions increased. Public anger spread through the empire. Then, rebellion erupted. Roman governors and military commanders began turning against Nero one by one. Finally, the Senate declared Nero an enemy of Rome. The emperor, who once ruled the world, suddenly found himself completely alone. His guards abandoned him. His friends disappeared. Even his servants fled. Nero escaped the palace at night and hid in a small villa outside Rome. For the first time in his life, the emperor was terrified. Soldiers were coming. Nero could already hear horses approaching in the distance. He knew what awaited him in Rome. Public execution, humiliation, a brutal death. But Nero couldn't bring himself to do the one thing expected of a Roman emperor. He couldn't kill himself. As panic consumed him, he reportedly cried, "What an artist dies in me." Finally, with enemy soldiers closing in, Nero forced a servant to help him drive a dagger into his throat. The last emperor of the Julio-Claudian dynasty was dead. He was only 30 years old. 68. A D. After Nero's death, Rome erupted into chaos. Civil war spread across the empire. Multiple generals fought for the throne. The empire nearly collapsed. Yet centuries later, Nero's name still survives. Not as a hero, not as a conqueror, but as one of history's most infamous rulers. A man obsessed with art, power, fear, and madness. The emperor who watched Rome burn and married a boy while the empire crumbled around him. After Nero's death, within a single year, 4 different men would claim the title of emperor. Historians would later call it the Year of the 4 Emperors. The first man to take the throne was an aging general named Galba. Galba was nothing like Nero. He hated luxury. He believed in military discipline, and he ruled with cold seriousness. At first, many Romans welcomed him. They hoped the madness of Nero had finally ended. But Galba made one fatal mistake. He refused to reward the soldiers who had helped place him in power. The Roman army was no longer just an army. It had become the real force behind the empire. Angry and betrayed, the soldiers turned against him. Only months after becoming emperor, Galba was murdered in the streets of Rome. Another man quickly seized power, Otho. But his rule was immediately challenged by powerful Roman legions stationed in Germany. Those soldiers supported a different commander, a brutal and ambitious general named Vitellius. Soon, Roman soldiers were fighting Roman soldiers. The empire was tearing itself apart from within. After suffering defeat, Otho chose suicide rather than capture. Vitellius entered Rome and declared himself emperor. But even then, the chaos was not over. Far to the east, another powerful general was watching everything carefully. His name was Vespasian. Unlike Nero, Vespasian was not obsessed with fame or luxury. He was practical, experienced, and respected by the army. While other rulers chased power, Vespasian focused on restoring order. As his armies marched toward Rome, more and more soldiers joined his side. The people were exhausted by violence and instability. They wanted peace, and they believed Vespasian could save the empire.